And we are back live here on the Cowboys Report. Tom Downey, producer Chris Daughtry behind the scenes for today's show as we move on from NFL Week 13, get ready for Week 14, which will be a little bit longer for the Cowboys since they do play on Monday Night Football against an also struggling Cincinnati Bengals team. We'll break down all the rumors, talk some playoff and draft pick implications here down the stretch, preview that Bengals game as well. But first, do you think Mike McCarthy returns as the Cowboys head coach in 2025? Y for yes, N for no. I know Jerry said it's not crazy. We've discussed this before. We'll go in depth on it again. ESPN offering some insight that was really the main impetus behind talking about it today. Will return. Y for yes, N for no. A very nice 69% voting no, which I appreciate and I find accurate. I don't think he's back. I would be surprised. It would require a pretty impressive run out of the Cowboys down the stretch. Like, you have to make the playoffs and I think frankly win a game. Because you got to prove, hey, I am a better coach than what I was when we went 12-5 and we couldn't win a playoff game beyond one. I'm a better coach now. I am the right guy to elevate us beyond where the Cowboys are currently. I don't know if you can do that this year. I don't know if you can. Because they weren't doing it earlier. I will not fall for the old banana in the tailpipe of the thing we all complained about, beating up on bad teams, because the Giants are a bad team, and you pulled an upset over the Commanders. I will not assume that means he gets to stay. I don't think he does. I think in the end he ends up getting fired. Set up in a bad spot, make no mistake about it. But if the whole point was do more with less, and then they do less with less, it's on Mike too. Wasn't a good spot to be in. I do feel bad for Big Mike in many ways. I don't think he's been set up for success, but it's not like he's done a great job in the process. So get those votes in. Y for yes, N for no. Do you think Mike returns as the Cowboys head coach in 2025? Today's show is made possible by Game Time. It is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big events, especially when you use the Game Time Picks feature. It is curation designed to save you even more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc., everything else in between. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference when you use the Game Time app. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less. The Game Time Picks feature filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. So don't waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create that account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. With today's show also made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. But it's code CLNS over at prizepicks.com/CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. So who you got on Monday Night Football then? Many chances to renew this as we move forward. Who you got? C for the Cowboys, B for the Bengals. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Steven's got C, Brian's got a C, Daniel's got a C, Ecuador Man's got a B, Detour 13's got a B, Robert, Lloyd, Tyler, all voting C's. Andrew's got a B. Bradley B has a C. Billy Bob Jean's got a B. C's from Golds, Jarvin, Lee Lilly, Christopher Knox. It might surprise you to hear that the Cowboys are 6.5-point underdogs in this one. Daniel, this depends on if Burrow plays or not. I think he's going to play. He said he got stepped on. So we'll monitor. We'll know more Wednesday, Thursday, or I guess Thursday technically, but I would wager he's going to end up playing. Get your votes in. C for the Cowboys, B for the Bengals. Also, this is definitely supposed to be D for the Cowboys. Or, no, this is right. C and B. I don't know why I said it like that. I'm stupid. Yeah, I'm dumb. I'm done. I was thinking for some reason I was thinking Cincinnati and Cowboys are both C's, so we can't do it. I'm stupid. Ignore me. C or B, get those votes in the comments section of today's show. This is our Super Chat menu, by the way. $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong, $500. Get the custom Cowboys jersey, and we can rock that. Or next year, this year or next year, depending on the timing of it arriving. We'll do it next year for Andres Zubarville. His wish will be granted. We'll say more about that during our watch parties. Get the Super Chats in, and also votes over or under. If you look at the spreads and the win probabilities, 1.5 is the proper over-under number, because they're not going to be favored against the Bengals. They might be favored against Carolina. That's going to be a toss-up game. If they beat the Bengals, I bet they're favored. If they lose to the Bengals, I bet they're not favored. They're not going to be favored against the Bucs, I don't think. That game will be a little bit close. If they win both, maybe at that point they are favored in Tampa, so it can kind of stack. They will not be favored against the Eagles. And Week 18 is kind of like, you can't get those early lines for the most part because you don't know who's playing for what. Like, there's a scenario in which the Commanders and Cowboys both have nothing to play for in that game. Commanders have locked up a playoff spot already, and Dallas is out of it. That is a real possibility. So over or under 1.5 more wins for the Cowboys. Lots of overs coming in here from Steven DB Cooper. He took the over too. Daniel M. Tommy Bowman. Daniel says, someone says Panthers are better. They're 3-9. Panthers have been playing better. You and Carolina both have similar minds with how you played as of late. Ecuador man's got under. Daryl Lily says over since we're getting healthy. Dustin's got the under. Bradley B's got the over. William Cook has the under. Eloy says Cowboys go 5-0 and make the playoffs in the NFC, go to Super Bowl. Okay, sure. If you do that, we are all hyped over the moon because that means your defense has played out of its mind down the stretch. Which they've played very good football, by the way. They get a real test, though, this upcoming week. Eloy, Robert, Chris, all typing in their overs. As always, folks, the goal here is a 50% like ratio to get today's show started. We are at about a 25% like ratio. So we'll keep an eye on that one. If you are ready for us to start today's live show, let me know by liking the video right now. I want to at least get to 69 likes here. Otherwise, that's not fun. And at least we don't even get to the memes side of it as well here. So get those likes in. If you haven't already done so, we appreciate it. It's free, it's simple, it's easy. Like the video if you haven't already done so on today's show. I had thought we would be getting Emmanuel Forbes clearing or not clearing news before we started the segments here, but we don't have that quite yet. So something tells me we'll get it like right in the middle of it. So if we don't get it, just don't go to it. I'll give you a thumbs up, thumbs down. But quick updates on the Pro Bowl voting. For those of you who care, we're not going to spend time on it during the real show, but I want to get to at least 69 likes right now, so this is an excuse for me to drag it out a bit there. Let's see. This is across all NFL teams. CeeDee Lamb is 5th in wide receivers, and he's only 4th among NFC. Doubt you're going to have any tackles. No safeties. Kevontae Turpin is the lead return man vote getter. Let's see. No surprise there. The quarterback, the Cowboys punter, isn't even top 10 anymore. Brandon Aubrey is number 2 kicker, number 1 in the NFC. And your other, Zach Martin, 6th in Pro Bowl voting for guards, because turns out the voting, they just sometimes pick the player they're most familiar with. I wonder if we have any of the funny ones here. there any where's the center? Is like the A name in the center? No, he's not high enough. Sometimes what you see, and you see it more with baseball too. Like strangely, because baseball and NFL used to put it alphabetically, and people don't care about about it that much. They just vote for like the first name that they see. They go, we don't care. Next. It's probably why Connor McGovern is actually 5th in voting for the Bills. Well, actually, Bills Mafia is showing up this year. That's maybe not accurate. That's kind of it on the pro voting. Hunter Lipke is 6th among fullbacks. There are only 9 eligible. There's 9 on the list. That's hilarious. But also accurate, I feel like, as well. Let's go to Chris Ortega's $5 super chat because he has a comment along with it that I'll mention here. Chris says, Giants made the postseason 10-6, beat the undefeated Patriots. They went on a late season tear. See the Cowboys doing the same thing. No, I don't. I would be very, very surprised if this Cowboys team was able to make that caliber of run. You're right. The Giants went 10-6. They rallied. They found a way to have success down the stretch. At one point in that season, what were they? They were what were they? I'm looking at my history books here. Let me pull it up. Like that defense was generationally great. They got good play from Eli Manning in the playoffs that year. I think that's worth mentioning. But that 10-6 team, by the way, never dipped below 500. At least I'm thinking of the right. Or am I thinking of a different undefeated Giants team? I'm thinking of the same one. That's 2007. That Giants team started the year 0-2, but then won 6 straight games, hit their bye week, never again dipped below at least 3 games above 500. So I don't think that this team is that talented enough to make it happen. I don't think they're quite good enough. That Giants team got good play from Eli in the postseason. They had a 1,000-yard runner in Brandon Jacobs. They had Plaxico Burress. Like they had a really, really good defense. But they were always viewed as like, yeah, this team is a playoff threat. This Cowboys team making a run would be pretty shocking, frankly. All right, coming up on today's live edition of the Cowboys Report, we'll break down some Cowboys news and rumors. We'll go coaching focused here. And if we ever get the Emmanuel Forbes details, we will revisit that. I'm pretty sure he was clearing waivers today, but maybe not. We'll find out. Cowboys playoff picture and the draft pick side of it, the downsides, so to speak. And we'll have a Cowboys mailbag for you. So get your questions in right now via hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat. Skip the line. Get in on the show. And we'll preview Monday Night Football, Cowboys and the Bengals, all coming live here on the Cowboys Report. We're approaching 203,000 subscribers here on the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already and you want free Cowboys videos each and every single day, then hit that sub button. It's free, and it always will be. Let's begin by talking more about a potential Mike McCarthy return for the Dallas Cowboys. ESPN exploring this idea today, really, about McCarthy returning as the Cowboys head coach in 2025. Now, remember, this was part of ESPN's Overreaction Monday piece. They look at different ideas, different topics, going with the Overreaction Monday angle. Their verdict on this one, overreaction. They do not think Mike McCarthy will be returning. Now, they prefaced it by saying, hey, what if Mike McCarthy goes on that miracle playoff run that we're talking about? Here's what Dan Graziano mentioned, or I should say wrote on that ESPN Insider piece. Even if the Cowboys pull off that miracle, McCarthy likely will still have to make a bit of a playoff run to keep his job. The Cowboys fired Jason Garrett in 2020 because he wasn't able to get them over the hump of playoff success. McCarthy hasn't done it either. And unless something incredibly bizarre happens over the remainder of this season, the Dallas Cowboys will likely move on. For a lot of the reasons that we've spent time talking about in the past that we'll go through here in a little bit, the biggest of which is you got to prove that Mike McCarthy is now different and better than what he was last year when he wasn't good enough to get extended, because it is still an extension. He's not under contract anymore. That is a difference for Jerry Jones. I agree with ESPN's mindset, and they're right in 100%. I don't think you see Mike McCarthy return in 2025. So get your predictions in. the pinned comment, especially, of today's show. So if the ad comes on YouTube, great. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Do you think Mike McCarthy actually does return as the Cowboys head coach in the year 2025? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote at the pinned comment here, especially if the ad comes on YouTube. The big thing you have to consider here is that Mike McCarthy is on the final year of his contract. It's not just I'm going to let McCarthy come back. It's I am actively choosing to retain him. And if you do that late playoff run, that playoff push, he's probably going to be looking for a longer than just 1 year deal, by the way. And what the overall totality of this view is going to be is what has Mike McCarthy done to prove that this guy, the 3 straight 12-win seasons, but not enough playoff success, what has he done to show that that's going to be different this time? That he's going to be a better head coach with better results and does enough to get them beyond where they have been, where it hasn't been good enough. This is not McCarthy's the worst head coach in the NFL history. This is not he's got to go no matter what. This is he good enough with a 5-year sample size to say, yes, we want to absolutely bring him back? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think this team is good enough. I don't think McCarthy's a good enough coach to overcome that. Pretty consistently, with a few exceptions, and it always comes through in the playoffs, this team normally beats the teams that they are more talented than and fails to be the teams that they are less talented than. That's a coaching issue. I think in the end, these fears, or maybe dreams if you want him, I think these all kind of come to a stop after a loss or maybe two. And maybe that's the Bengals game. Maybe it's the Eagles game. Maybe it's the Panthers or the Bucks game. I think you just need to be a chill guy. Relax, breathe, be a chill guy. Don't get too far out over your skis. Just let this play out. And I think the very obvious answer will eventually reveal itself. Then if they don't make the playoffs, I don't really see how Mike McCarthy comes back. Unless, as ESPN said, something incredibly bizarre happens, I don't see the Dallas Cowboys having really any level of interest in saying, yes, you know what, we saw enough to go, we can change things, let's bring back Mike. This would be different if this was year 2. If this was year 3, it's year 5. I think that the front office knows what path they're likely going to head down here. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. It is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big event. They have a new feature, by the way. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets for your teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. Don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. It is curation designed to make it easier to save even more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. The all-in pricing feature shows your total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. You can get a panel review from your seat as well in the app before you buy. So what are you waiting for? Download the Game Time app. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account. Redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off. Because what time is it? It's game time. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. But again, get that $20 off your first purchase when you use code CHATSPORTS over at GameTime.co. Let's talk Mike Zimmer here. As many of you have asked about this, the idea of keeping Mike Zimmer as the Cowboys defensive coordinator in 2025. And I do want to start off positively here. Namely, this Cowboys defense has significantly gotten better compared to a really, really, really bad start. The defense in the first 9 weeks this season, these are some advanced metrics per RBSDM.com, which is runningbacksdon'tmatter.com, but they allow me to do more filters than others here. They were 30th in EPA per play in the first 9 weeks. They were 18th in success rate, 27th in pass EPA per play, 32nd in run EPA. Success rate was a little bit better, 10th in passing success rate, 29th in rushing success rate. When you see big differences there, it's normally big chunk plays and or a lack of takeaways that are leading to lower EPA compared to success rate. But however you really want to slice it, this was a bottom 5 defense in reality. And the points per game certainly matched that. And the points per game haven't gotten better over the past month, but the offensive turnovers and inefficiency have been a huge factor in that. The defense only, the last 4 weeks, they are now 10th in EPA per play. They're 12th in success rate. They're 4th in pass EPA per play, 11th in success rate. They are 31st in run EPA, which might make you freak out, but they are 13th in success rate. They've basically had a couple big chunk runs, one by Joe Mixon, and a couple quarterback scrambles that have been big chunk plays or design quarterback runs against them. Against running backs, they've gone from allowing some of the most yards per carry in the NFL to like league average. And that includes the Giant Joe Mixon. Take away the Giant Joe Mixon run last month, the Cowboys are allowing like 3.8 yards per carry to backs. They've gotten significantly better. And Micah Parsons knows that too. Here's what Micah said. We all see a difference, don't we? Film's not lying. Everybody's staying in their gaps. We're playing honest and true. That just goes so that we're starting to believe in each other, really buying into the program and understanding that we can be good. We'll come back to kind of some of what those quotes mean here. But over the past month, how would you grade this Dallas Cowboys defense? A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. How do you feel so far about what this Cowboys defense has played as of late? I think there are a couple different reasons of varying impact why the defense looks so much better. Maybe the biggest of which that we should not overlook is the return of Micah Parsons, because he looks good. He is now up to 6.5 sacks, has been putting about a sack per game since his return from injury. His return, I think, has helped make Osa Odigizua look better. Mozzie Smith look better. Teams keying in on him, others stepping up around him. Mike has also bought in, which I do think matters, by the way. And number two, I think the health of some of your other players. You've mostly been getting healthier. You got Marshawn kneeling back for a game. Micah return was the big one. Deron Bland coming back at the same time. Diggs goes down, kind of probably saved your cornerback room from having a real bad disaster. You're, of course, banged up there again right now. But the health of those guys getting healthier and growth from young players. Marvin Overshown looks great. Mozzie Smith the past month has gone from a terrible defensive tackle to he's been borderline starting caliber the past month. Seriously. O's has taken a step forward. You're getting better play from Carl Lawson, who's not young, but he's still upping his game. Chauncey Golston. Before he got hurt, you were getting real plays, real opportunities from Josh Butler. You've been able to find guys to kind of fill in the holes on your defense, and the young players have stepped up in the process. Also this, kind of natural adjustment you've had to Mike Zimmer. There's always going to be, sometimes longer than we would prefer, an adjustment period to where, you know what, okay, we got to figure out how things work. The coaching staff's got to figure out how the players work best together. That's why oftentimes you see year two of a scheme is better than year one, because there's more time to make adjustments. You learn the strengths and weaknesses, how to adjust. I think that's part of the natural new coaching staff hire, and you're seeing that play out now with the defensive side of the ball. Here's what Micah said, kind of acknowledging this part too. It was a learning period. Everyone's understanding a new defense. Zim is a lot more creative and demanding how they want people to play their gaps. It was always challenging a lot of the interior guys to play new ways, the corners to play new ways. I think at this point, everyone is comfortable. Everyone is locked in. I think at this point in the season, everyone is ready. So when it comes to this conversation about what you're going to do with Mike Zimmer, I am open to keeping him in 2025. This is not a I don't want him here no matter what argument. It is also not a I don't want him here no matter what. It is I want to see how things play out. I want my next head coach to decide. Whoever that ends up being, I want him to say, I want this guy as my DC. I want to keep him. This is who I am hiring. It is part of your interview process. You go, hey, who are you hiring as your defensive coordinator? Who do you want to hire? What's your list look like? If he says, actually, I just want to keep Zimmer. Seems like that was a pretty good thing. Cool, that's fine. If he goes, I want Robert Saleh, whatever. Okay, sure, that's fine. As long as they're not hiring Matt Patricia or something weird, which is part of your interview process to weed out bad head coach candidates, let them decide. I don't want to do this. I was forced by the owner crap. I don't want to do that anymore. I think it leads to some disjointedness in your staff. I think it's a power play by your ownership group. I don't want it anymore. If you don't like who they're hiring, don't hire him. I also, by the way, don't want Zimmer as head coach. I don't want to go down that path at all. It's not interesting to me. No, I'm not interested. I want somebody young and innovative. Zim could stay as my DC, but not as the head coach. So do you want to bring back Mike Zimmer? K for you want to keep him. L for you want to let him leave. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. How many more games will the Dallas Cowboys win? Let me know in the comments. You got up to 5 here. Up to 5. Still have not seen Emmanuel Forbes news yet. That's actually quite surprising since it's always 4 p.m. Unless I just screwed this up and he's not available today. Sure. Get your votes in. How many more games will the Cowboys end up winning? I assume he clears waivers on Monday. I don't know. If not, we'll just do a little, he was cut. Should they sign him part and just change it from there? I see 2.69. Nice, nice. 1, 2, 2, 2, 5, 3, 1, 7, 0, 5, 1, 2, 5, 7. Okay, guys. How you gonna get to 7? By the way, well, I all 5 and you win two playoff games. I guess that's probably what it is. Because I don't think it's gonna be 4 and 3 playoff wins. 5, 4, 3, 3, 1, 2, 2. Daniel, where are the Cowboys at in the waiver wire? They're like 13th, I believe. That's where they're at. 1, 1, 3, 9. Kind of the Super Bowl. There we go. 5 beat them all. Okay. We'll see. I have my doubts. I hope you're right, but I have my doubts. 1, 1. I do think 1 is an underrated option. Because if you lose against the Bengals, that would be very demoralizing. Like the Bengals had a demoralizing loss too, though. We'll talk about that in the preview here in a little bit. El Cuz got a $1 super chat, $2 super chat. So the Cowboys would be looking for new safeties. Always down to look. No downside in searching and exploring there. I would hope so. I wouldn't be shocked if one of Donovan Wilson and Leclerc got moved after the season ends. Would not surprise me at all. But I also wonder if you can get by with Wanye Thomas and Marquise Bell, which is why I wanted to play him more, and Zim didn't want to, which does bother me a little bit. But certainly worth keeping an eye out for. Let's put it that way. This is the Super Chat menu. $20 for a shot, $50 for the beer bong, and you're into our most 50s in December bong race. We'll call it a bong race with winner getting a signed Dak Prescott jersey. $500 for the custom Cowboys jersey as well. That is the Super Chat menu for today's show. 20, 50, and 500. Let's move along now to the next segment of today's live show. We're going to do it again since it got pretty decent reviews the first time. We're going to break down the current Cowboys playoff picture, the slim hopes that exists if you harbor those, or if you're on Team Tank, we will also explore that one. Very weird to be doing both in one video, but it seems fair and balanced and just makes sense to me. So should we keep doing these playoff picture, draft pick, tanking videos as long as the Cowboys win or lose? We will have them for you if you want them. Like the video and get your vote in, so to speak, by doing it right now. Here is the current NFC playoff picture as things stand. Now, what matters for Dallas is, look, you're not going to catch the Philadelphia Eagles. There's no way you win that division as it is right now. It's impossible. It's just not feasible. Now, at 5 and 7, you are not necessarily out of the NFC wildcard picture, but there are multiple teams in front of you with the Commanders at the 7th spot. Bucks, Cardinals, Rams, and Niners all currently sit ahead of the Cowboys. They are not technically eliminated from that playoff picture quite yet. But at 5 and 7, they pretty much have to win out. There are some scenarios, depending on who they lose to, where they can still get in at 9 and 8, but that seems pretty unlikely, if not impossible, but very unlikely with the way the Cowboys' schedule currently sets up. As of right now, Dallas does not control its own destiny. And frankly, they didn't quite get the type of help that they were looking for this past Sunday. Here are the current playoff chances for various different sites. Playoff Status has one. They got the Cowboys at 5%. Next Gen Stats has them at 4%. The New York Times, 1%. I know that they own The Athletic, but it is a different model that they use. Net, less than 1% from The Athletic. ESPN, less than 1%. What I'm saying is, there's a chance. But much like the movie, it's not a very good chance at this point. So with that in mind, what do you believe is the percent chance that the Dallas Cowboys make the playoffs this year? Let me know in the comments. Check the pinned comment, in particular, of today's show. The ad comes on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know the percent chance that you think the Dallas Cowboys make the playoffs this year. Let's break down their schedule. We'll also use the Athletics feature of like the win probability for each of these games, plus other games we'll get to here in a little bit. Bengals on Monday Night Football, at Carolina, home against Tampa, at Philadelphia, home against the Commanders. Here's what the Athletic has on the win probability side. Now, again, these are all subject to change. They update it each week. Every Monday and Sunday they change based on what's happened previously, and any injuries can be impacted there. Healthy Joe Burrow right now, it's at 37% against the Bengals. A very unlikely outcome. They're 6.5-point dogs as of filming in that game. Kind of makes some sense. Panthers, a near coin flip game, 51%. The Bucks, 41%. Philly, down there at 21% chance. That's a road game in which Philly might just clinch the NFC East that week. Not overly surprising there. The Commanders, that one could change a lot, depending on who's playing for what at that point in the season. Commanders might be in, might not be in. 39% chance there. If you just go based on the probability, the proper over-under is 1.5 more wins. Because that's the only game they're favored in, Carolina. So what do you think ends up happening? O for over, U for under. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Like I mentioned, you're not going to win the division. The NFC East curse will remain for at least one more season. The Commanders are on bye, by the way. So they're not going to play this weekend. So best case, you're going to be at 6-7. They're 8-5. You're still going to be 2 games back. Best case scenario. You also have one more game against Philadelphia. That would put you at 8 losses this season. Does anyone here think the Cowboys are really going to beat Philadelphia? I have my doubts. The New York Times now has the Cowboys at a 78% chance of winning out and making the playoffs based on likely outcomes involving other games, which means the Commanders got to win 3 games, which is very doable given their schedule, as we will discuss. If you win all your other games and you lose against Philadelphia, it's a 14% chance of making the postseason. And that's still really unlikely. It requires a lot of collapses from other teams. You do sweep the Commanders, which helps you, though. You still need another win, another loss in there from the Commanders. The wild card threats, as we sit right now, the Commanders at 8-5. This is, again, per The Athletic. 79% chance. Falcons 63, Bucks 53. You'll notice that those don't add up to 100% because you've got the NFC South being open and got really 200% basically in terms of the math you're trying to get to there, plus some NFC West stuff with the Cardinals. So it's all not even math, but you've got real playoff contenders that are 500 right now. And you've lost some key head-to-heads. The Saints lost. That was a big NFC loss. The Niners are not really a real playoff threat, but they're still ahead of you right now. You lost head-to-head against Atlanta. The Eagles, you lost against. That big win over Washington. But all of a sudden, by the way, if you beat Tampa to help your playoff hopes, that helps the Falcons' NFC South hopes. Or if you lose to Tampa to get the Falcons out into the wild card race, you lost them. So you kind of have your mistakes along the way. That losing streak against Atlanta, Philly, and Houston really puts you behind the 8 ball. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. It's available in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. They've got injury insurance. If a player goes down in the first half, doesn't return, Prize Picks still keeps your lineup live. And it's not just pro football. They got college football as well. My boy Jack Lotteray cooked up one of these SEC title game ones. He was feeling spicy. Quinn Ewers, more than 3.5 passing yards. Wisner, the running back, Quintravian Wisner, less than 7.5 yards on the ground. And he picked Carson Beck, more than 2.5 passing yards. He's been on a heater, though. Do the flex play. Oh, if you get one wrong, you still cash out. Go download the Prize Picks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Let's run through the remaining schedules for all these teams that are ahead of you of note. Well, we won't do the 49ers, by the way. Commanders on bye in Week 14. They are predicted to beat the Saints. Not so much against Philly. Beat the Falcons and beat the Cowboys. Let's say they lose to Philadelphia, but they beat the Saints and they beat the Falcons, and you lose to Philadelphia as we expect in Week 17. At that point, the Commanders have gotten to 10 wins, and you're in trouble. Now, maybe they lose to Saints and Falcons, and you're still maybe alive. You have to keep winning all of those games. That's the best path. And it requires help from other teams who, oh, by the way, have kind of easy schedules. The Cardinals are so high up because they don't play anybody. The Seahawks right now are the division leader in the NFC West. The Cardinals maybe lose that game. Then they got the Patriots, Panthers, and 2 teams who may be out of it in the Rams and Niners. That kind of feels like 2 or 3 wins at minimum to me. And then they're at 8 wins. And one more, they probably win the tiebreaker over you with 9 wins, given all your NFC losses already. It's not great. The Falcons, they probably won't beat the Minnesota Vikings. The Raiders, the Giants, the Panthers, that should get them to 9 wins. 10 wins maybe against Washington. That might be enough to win the NFC South. Or put you in tiebreaker scenario against the Cowboys, who we assume don't beat Philadelphia. All changes if they win out. All changes if they win out. The Bucs schedule, meanwhile, super easy. Raiders, Panthers, Saints. By the way, that Cowboys Week 16 game, I would expect the Buccaneers beat the Raiders. I don't think they beat the Chargers, which means that puts them in we got way more to play for, or even just as much to play for as the Cowboys do Week 16. That could certainly put Dallas in an elimination game scenario, at least a de facto elimination game scenario. That Bucs win that game against Dallas, you would have lost to Bucs and Atlanta, and that just makes it almost impossible. So your Week 14 rooting guide here for the Dallas Cowboys. For playoff purposes, Vikings over Falcons, Raiders pulling a massive over Tampa Bay, Seattle over Arizona, Bills over the Rams, just to help knock the Rams down a little bit, and narrowly Bears over Niners, since you do want the Niners to keep losing games and kind of get them out of the way, which is certainly noteworthy. That's what you're aiming for if you want to have some success down the stretch here. Now, we'll be here all season and off-season long. We're about to break down the tanking side of things here, if that's what you guys want, but not everyone does. It's fine. That's why it's at the end. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. Now, I kind of laid it out. I don't think it's very likely you're able to make a real playoff push. Now, as a team, as an organization, with coaches and players' lives on the line, so to speak, with their jobs on the line, they're not going to actively lose games on purpose. But that doesn't mean you can't still hope for some help here as the Cowboys push forward the rest of the season. With the Sunday results, especially the win by Indianapolis helped out a little bit there. Win by the Rams and the Bucs and the loss by the Cardinals. You now have pick number 13 in the NFL draft. The Niners have a better playoff hope than you. They also have a lower pick than you. They're at 14. What you're facing this week is a massive tanking opportunity against the Bengals. They are currently 4-8. They are number 10. Now, ironically, you hurt their strength of schedule if they beat you, but that's how it's going to go in terms of the race to the bottom. A loss does help the Cowboys' playoff hopes. Now, remember, a loss also boosts your own strength of schedule, so you're kind of playing that double-edged sword, but you'd rather have the outright than the tiebreaker, you know? So a safe space here to answer this question for me. Do you want to beat the Bengals? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's video. Let's talk Week 14 tanking guide here. The outcomes, I think, almost regardless of what the Cowboys do, you're cheering for. Some exceptions with, like, the playoff hopes if you have those. I'm going Tennessee over Jacksonville. I'm 3 games back of the Jags at 2-10. I can't catch them. I could catch Tennessee, though, who play the Jags twice. So go Titans. I will asterisk Jets over Dolphins. Jets are 3-9. Dolphins 5-7. You could jump up a spot if the Dolphins win, but maybe the Dolphins can win some games down the stretch still, and the Jets can win some too. So I'm kind of got a double-edged sword there. But Dolphins win, it's not the worst thing either. Falcons over Minnesota, the opposite of the playoff hopeful outcome there. Saints over the Giants. Again, the Saints are 4-8. Giants are 2-10. I can't catch New York. I can catch the Saints though. Carolina over Philadelphia, which seems unlikely, but Carolina's been scrappy as of late. The Browns over the Steelers, which you want the Browns to keep winning games here. The Raiders of the Bucs, which helps you either way, and seems unlikely. Bears over San Francisco. Again, the Bears are 4-8. You cheer for the team with the worst mark. Rams over Bills, and I guess Cardinals over Seahawks. I don't think that really matters all that much because Arizona's 6-6. You're already ahead of them, but I want to have 10 and have a nice round, even graphic. We will get to our mailbag here in just a second, and we'll do this afterwards, but the Los Angeles Rams claimed Emmanuel Forbes off of waivers. I believe that the Rams were behind the Cowboys in the waiver wire order, which means Dallas did not put in a claim for him, which is what it is. But that's how it goes. Get your mailbag questions in via hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to skip the line altogether. Roberts and Elka 1842. We will get to all of your Super Chats, I should say, here in just a second. Here is the Super Chat menu. $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong, $500 for the custom Cowboys jersey. Get that Super Chat menu, or know it, and get your Super Chats in. We also get to Weed and Wife these 304s as part of the mailbag. Getting going right now. From CJ DeYoung III. This was about one word from the Cowboys-Giants game. He goes meaningless. I think the players and coaches would disagree. In the long run of the season, it's probably not going to change things for you. I still think you're not going to be quite good enough, but at least bought you some time. And you saw some good stuff from some of your players, so I get the overall mindset, but I think there are some things that were positive and maybe some negatives to come out of that game as well. That came in via Super Thanks. We will always feature your questions, comments that come in via Super Thanks. It was just Tom, you suck. We will put it on the show. Get your Super Thanks in. Click that little heart with the $sign. Edit your message. Send in whatever. We appreciate your support, so we will always give you a shout-out here on the Cowboys Report. Richard Robinson, a $5 Super Chat. So with the win against the Commanders, the next 3 being winnable, the team could end up with 7 and 8 wins. If that happens, what's the chance Jerry runs it back with McCarthy and season to be a fluke with all the injuries and not do anything to make the team better for 2025? This is my nightmare scenario. I do want to acknowledge that. And it's a fair question, Rick. I don't think that happens. If they finish with 7 and 8 wins and they're below 500, they weren't good enough. They lost games they should have won earlier this season. They went on that losing streak that included the quarterback being healthy. Now, the defense being healthy, the quarterback being healthy, never really timed up the way you would have wanted it to. The Saints win and lost, and the Commanders lost kind of cancel each other out, basically, relative to the expectations. I think if that scenario happens, and let's say you beat the Panthers, and you win one of the games against the Bengals or Bucks or whatever, and you finish 7 wins, 8 wins. Maybe you beat the Bucks too, and then you collapse down the stretch, which would also not bode well for Big Mike. I don't think he comes back. I might have a different answer if this was year 2 under McCarthy, if this was year 3, hell, even year 4, and it's like, yeah, we were close, we got banged up this year. But this is year 5. It's not that you're just, for Jerry, it's a difference. I don't think it should be, but it is. It's not, I'm letting him coach out his contract. It's, I'm giving him a new contract. He's choosing to pay him more money than what he already owes him. I don't think that's a likely outcome in the end. So be honest with me. What is the % chance the Cowboys keep Mike McCarthy? Let me know in the comments section, the pinned comment, actually, of today's show. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Robert Simmons, will you get safe as in the free agency or the draft? I would explore both. I really, in general, I want to be if I've got a need this offseason, I want to sign somebody to fill it. And not Shuma Adoga level. Let's do a little bit better. And then I can go pure BPA. So if I'm picking, 15 and Malachi Starks is there to Georgia, let's do it. If I'm there day 2 and I love Kevin Winston for Penn State or Xavier Watts for Notre Dame, cool. Let's do it. I want to fill all of my needs like a real NFL team should operate and add talent that way and then go BPA in the draft. Elka, 1842, if Genty is taken, what position and player should we get? I don't want to put a player or a spot locked in early December when there's an entire free agency, entire draft cycle to go to. There's a lot of spots I'd consider. I would look. I doubt if Genty's gone, I kind of feel like Mason Graham is gone out of Michigan. Maybe Luther Burden from Missouri's there. Maybe one of the edge rushers, different defensive linemen slide down to you. So I don't want to lock myself into one spot. You can go look at our tanking video, the draft targets video that way. There's plenty of guys that I think could fit the mold depending on where exactly you're picking. I also question how far. Actually, this is perfect. Let's go to Cooper. How far do you have to tank for Ashton Genty? Okay. I look at the tankathon every week because I have no life and it's also part of my job anyway. The teams that I think, could maybe take Ashton Genty. This is the Boise State running back, by the way. Not going to be Jacksonville at 1. The Raiders at 2 right now need a quarterback more. Giants aren't. Patriots aren't. Panthers aren't. Jets aren't. Titans aren't. Browns maybe, but the Browns also don't like investing in backs draft pick-wise. They paid Chubb. That was a little bit different for them. Saints, I doubt. Bengals maybe, but Chase Browns look good, and also they got massive defensive holes everywhere. The Browns won't. Dolphins won't. Niners are a crazy wild card. They also just paid Christian McCaffrey. Indy won't. Bucks won't. Rams won't. Cardinals won't. Falcons won't. Seattle won't if they miss the postseason. So I don't know who this, unless they just go, he's too good to take him. I see a very real possibility, even if you're picking 14, unless one of the 2 Ohio teams take him, I think you can get him. I think both those teams might want Mason Graham more instead. So do you want to draft Ashton Genty? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Sound off right now. Y for yes, N for no. We don't wipe these 304s. Would Dak put up over or under 45 TDs in Philly? The answer is under. And my rationale here is Jalen Hurts played very good football. His passing TDs this year, make sure I have the right numbers in front of me. He's got 14 passing touchdowns this year. Now, he also has a ton of rushing touchdowns because the Eagles do the tush push. He's got 12. So, he's off to a good start this year. I would say Dak goes under 45 if the quarterbacks are just replaced. But Saquon gets a bunch more touchdowns because they're not doing the yard out tush push every single play. They probably do some more Saquon handoffs there. Maybe Dak's got a few more passing touchdowns to kind of balance that a little bit, but 45 is a lot. I think it's an easy under there. From Aiden, Xavier Watts looked good during the weekend. Definitely someone to pick up in the draft. That is the Notre Dame safety, who I am a big fan of. He's a dynamic, rangy playmaker in the back end. Has consistently been even like last 2 years, even better this past season. Really impactful piece in our first mock draft of the year. We got him in like round 6 or something. Which is, you can go back and look at every single one of the way too early mock drafts, and there's always one that's like, wow, that's super late. How'd you get him? I took the good players. By the way, 12 interceptions his last 2 years. I'm a sucker for ball skills. Xavier Watts will be one of my dudes this draft season, but you're not going to get him in the 6th round, 7th round, very possible though. Or earlier, or day 2, possible. Excuse me. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. They have a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. So don't waste time. Searching through thousands of different tickets. It's curation designed to save you even more on sports or concerts or comedy, theater, and maybe it's not a Cowboys game. Maybe it's a Mavs game you want to go to instead. Make sure you're using the all-in pricing feature. Toggle it on to see the total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout either. The Game Time guarantee is this. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So go download the Game Time app today. Create your account over at GameTime.co and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account. Redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. People are mad at my phrasing. It's draft. It's always vaguely innuendo-y at minimum. All right, Steven, are there any college football coaches that you would like to see as our head coach? Honestly, no. I don't want to go down that route. I think Dan Lanning would be a pretty good NFL head coach. I think he's a really great motivator, and I think his schematic stuff is pretty good too, and that's what I'm aiming for. I don't want a recruiter, though. And I think a lot of the best coaches right now in college football, they're guys that know how to work the recruiting field, know how to work the transfer portal, are really good salesmen. That's a huge part of the college football job these days. That's not part of the NFL job. So, Kirby's a great coach. He's going to be a great NFL head coach. I don't know. Lincoln Riley's stock is at an all-time low. I don't really want to go down the college head coaching path. If I'm going to go different, give me an offensive coordinator path instead. Daniel M. Percent chance we get Diggs, Tank, Nealon, and Martin back for the Bengals game on Monday. Hopefully Diggs. Early vibes, probably Martin. Doesn't sound like Tank Lawrence. Seems like good old Dr. Jerry might have jumped the gun a little bit there because Dr. Steven was far less optimistic there. And I want to see how Nealon goes week of practice. Frankly, Diggs and Martin too. But I don't think all 4 are going to get back. Tony, speaking of Zach Martin, at what point do you sit down Martin to play the young guards? Assuming Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass. It's tough. I don't think you can realistically do it until the season is truly over. Because it's Zach Martin. You're playing a very fine line. I think getting Hoffman and Bass some reps were good. They look pretty solid. And they give you hope of, hey, right guard competition next year might not actually be a bad idea. Because it's Zach Martin and because there is more than just short-term and long-term outlooks here, you almost kind of let Martin decide. Maybe he sits down week 16, week 17, but I kind of feel like do you want to give him a send-off late in the season against Washington? It's a very tricky game to play there. Who do you like more as a long-term right guard option? B for TJ Bass, H for Brock Hoffman. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Gary Sanderson, what could a staff outlook be for the hire of Ben Johnson, his offensive coordinator, and his DC? It's a good question. Everyone's going to want to connect Robert Saleh as the DC because that's just a very logical move. Don't hate it at all. I would anticipate some combination of Lions coaches coming over too. Wouldn't surprise me if one of the 2 top Lions offensive assistants, that's Tanner Engstrand, the passing game coordinator, and then Mark Brunell's the quarterback's coach, by the way, for the Lions, if you guys didn't know that. I think one of those guys could maybe be his OC, or maybe it's Scotty Montgomery. Someone probably gets that promotion to go be an OC there. Defensively, is it, I don't know who they go with there. Is it Kelvin Shepard, the linebackers coach? Because there's a lot of former players on that staff. I would bet it's probably a former player-heavy staff if you hire Ben Johnson. That's what Dan Campbell's been doing. I think DC matters way more than OC because I want Ben Johnson to call my plays. The OC there is kind of less important in the end. So that DC job got to get it right. Lots of good ones available, though. Robert, Tom, what's your mock draft from round 1 to round 7? I'll save time for everyone. It's on the channel. It's one of the more recent videos. I went with Mason Graham in round 1. It's a bit outdated, though. We will do a new one soon. I promise you this. The next time the Cowboys lose a game that week, we'll have a brand new mock draft for you. Now, if you want that video and more mailbags here on the Cowboys, hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Free Cowboys videos each and every single day right here on the channel. Jeff Warren, Tom, what are we doing? Are we trying to make a playoff push? Of course they are. You're not going to have the players and coaches roll over and die on purpose. Now, they might quit at a certain point, but they're fighting for their next contract, their next team, looking good for the next coaching staff, their own coaching jobs. They're not going to roll over and die. And if they do, that's when you have to fire the coaching staff. Because at that point, there's nothing to be gained. YouTube J, my dream offseason. Jerry steps down, hires Ben Johnson, goes get Ashton Jennings, trying to make a splash trade, and get a young offensive lineman for a Zach replacement or DJ Bass, and get a defensive lineman. I ain't getting more than that. That's a good start. I don't know what the ideal splash trade is there, but maybe it's. I think you still want a receiver. I think you're maybe okay spot enough time. What you do with Steele, I think long term. I think defensive help. Defensive line needs multiple new pieces. Linebacker might need another new piece. So you got to spend some money this offseason. That's my. I'll be a common refrain here. You can spend a lot of money, and you should spend more money than previous years. This is the Super Chat menu. As a reminder, $20 for a shot, $50 for the beer bong, $500 for the custom Cowboys jersey. Gets those Super Chats. And even though we're past the mailbag, we'll still feature them on the show after we get through our final segment here. So get your Super Chats in. Appreciate all the ones that came in already from Robert and Aiden and We Don't Wife These 304s, Elka. You saw the comment about hiring Ben Johnson. Popular answer to this question, probably. Who do you want as the next Dallas Cowboys head coach? Who do you want? Got a Nathan Thomas comment from Danelle Graves, by the way, about getting him involved in the line. It's a good point. I think you could survive with just letting Bass, Hoffman, and Thomas compete at right guard the entire season. Chris, what's up?
During the mailbag, I just didn't want to throw it in there because it wasn't as relevant to everything. But somebody asked where the turnover chain is. So I just wanted to throw the L3
right
up there as well. Just to whoever that was that asked about the turnover chain. That's where you can get it on Fanatics right there.
Chatsports.com/chain. Thank you very much there, Chris. Appreciate that. All right. Head coaching candidates. Who do you guys want? Daniel, Bill Belichick. Bills, there's going to be a big concern with every single head coach you hire. If either they've a failed head coach, haven't been a head coach, so they're a bit of a wild card and unknown. All those things are important to consider and not forget there. Ecuador says anyone but Mike McCarthy. There you go. Tim says Ben Johnson. Lee says Troy Aikman. No. No. I have one rule. You have to have been a coach before at some point at a non-high school level. Rules out Aikman, rules out Witten. Can't do it. I think those are bad ideas. I would be more intrigued by Aikman as a GM, which should still just be Will McClay, actually, but he's what it is.
So I know you said there's nobody necessarily in college that you like right now to be a head coach. I know Jerry has said, at least a couple years ago anyways, that no college coach. He wasn't interested in a college coach. Are you interested in any college coach eventually?
Maybe down the line, sure. I'm not gonna stop it only because they're a college coach. I just don't think there are any college coaches I want right now. Like, I would have some interest in Dan Lanning, but I still got to get the OC hire right. It's still a different sport to an extent than the NFL level. I also don't think Dan wants to be an NFL head coach. I think he's like, I'm at Oregon. We're winning games. I get big money. I get paid more at Oregon than I do by the Dallas Cowboys. Like, all these top college head coaches, they make like double what Mike McCarthy makes. Underrated part, by the way. They make it bank. So why it's always funny to me they complain about the way the game's changed. Like, oh no, take your millions of dollars and cry about it. Danelle's got Bobby Slowick. I am not as high on Slowick as others. I am part of the reason why I want the Shanahan coaching tree is like it works really well on offense. They have success. They're able to move the football. Their run game is super efficient. They are not an efficient ground game. The Houston Texans are an unbelievably feast or famine group. Like, they either get massive chunk plays or they don't move the ball on the ground really at all. You can look at I got the numbers here. The rushes of 10-plus yards. Joe Mixon is 6th in yards of 10 yards or more. That's an explosive run. He's 6th and 5th among backs because Lamar Jackson is in there because he's an insano person. But then you go look at success rate, and you do the qualified guys only, and Joe Mixon is 31st. It's not good. It's pretty inefficient, actually. Joe Mixon is at 36.1% of his runs are successful runs. I mean, did it keep them ahead of the chains, so to speak, right? For comparison, CeeLo's at 35.6 this year. Zeke is. Now, the big difference is the massive chunk plays, but the Texans they don't run the ball effectively or efficiently. They just get the occasional big chunk run, and they had it's like 8 yards to go on third downs this year. It's really bad. All right, Aiden, do you see Jonathan Mingo contributing next year? I'll just say I hope so. I don't know if he will. My issue with that trade was you're not going to play him a lot because you're going to play Brandon Cooks once he comes back, which they have done, by the way. They're going to play CeeDee Lamb a lot. They're now playing Jalen Tolbert, Connor Turpin. That's all fine. And I didn't trust this coaching staff to be able to maximize what he does well. I think to maximize Jonathan Mingo, you put him as a big slot, which is what Carolina tried to do, and when he had a little bit more success, again, emphasis on the little bit more success, that's what he was doing. His best game this year was against the Bears and the Bengals, and he had 24 yards, 37 yards, 40 yards. He was getting at least some slot reps there. He's played 25, 15, 27 snaps the past 3 weeks, 5, 4, and 7 in the slot. They've kind of made him this X receiver again, which I don't think that's a good use of his skill set. That's what Carolina tried to do in year one. It didn't work. So my concern is that they misjudged the evaluation in the first place and then doubled down on it. That's my concern. Before we get into our preview of our Bengals versus Cowboys game this week, Monday Night Football, I want you to troll our Bengals host. Now, we've had some issues in the past with the comments getting blocked because it says F person's name. I believe if we all spam FS to troll our host, Stone, our Bengals breakdown host, it will not get flagged. Spam FS in the comments section. Most comments. It's a free raffle entry into our giveaway on Monday night. So spam FS for me in the comments section right now. Let's talk Week 14. The Bengals on the road in Texas, 6.5-point favorites. This has been I'll be very mean here. It's an elite offense averaging almost 28 points per game and a defense that has crayon-eating tendencies. Very mean. But I'm not wrong, all right? They're allowing 28.3 points per game. There is a difference, by the way. It is a tiebreaker. It's rounding stuff. They do have a slightly worse defense than you. We will get to some of these numbers for the Bengals that we'll get to here in a second on that defense. The offense is really friggin' good. The defense is really bad. That's why the Bengals are only 4-8. Now, some injury notes I want to get into here to monitor. Obviously, no injury report quite yet, but this is worth monitoring as we move forward. Wanye Thomas, meniscus, shouldn't miss a ton of time. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but not going to play this week. Hopefully, Trayvon Diggs, Zach Martin are back with their groin and ankle/shoulder injuries, respectively. We'll see. Tyler Guyton, high ankle sprain. That he plays. I think Jake Ferguson is back. Marshawn Nealon is a big question mark, and we'll see. CeeDee Lamb, back in his shoulder. Hopefully he's okay, but we'll see on that front. Tank Lawrence seemed optimistic going to Jerry Jones. Stephen Jones says not so fast. Seems unlikely for him. The Bengals, meanwhile, Joe Burrow got stepped on, was limping. I feel like he's going to play. He's a big competitor. Sheldon Rankins battling through illness. Logan Wilson's knee has been a red flag. He's still sore. Charlie Jones, the returners, missed time with his groin. Also, by the way, we'll keep an eye on Orlando Brown. He was a bit sore coming out of this Sunday game as well, but extra day to recover for him. Let's talk keys to victory. Number one, we'll go to the Bengals offense here. You have to limit their big three. Bengals offense tied for 5th in points per game this year, 27.9. You'd think they'd be a playoff team, averaging almost 28 points per game. They're 9th in yards per game, 10th in yards per play. EPA is 8th. They're just 11th in turnovers. They've been very good. And the big reason has been this guy, Joe Burrow, legitimately is playing his best ever football. If I told you Joe Burrow was winning almost 68% of his passes, 3,000 plus yards, 30 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions with a QBR of almost 74, you'd go, wow, he's an MVP candidate, and the Cincinnati Bengals are probably have 8 wins, right? Wrong, they have 4. For reasons we'll get to here in just a little bit, but that is top 3 this year in the QBR metric. His top 2 playmakers, Jamar Chase, already passed 1,000 yards this year. For a team in the Cowboys that doesn't tackle very well, swear to God, Jamar Chase breaks a tackle every time he touches the football. He never goes down on the first tackle. T. Higgins, when healthy, is awesome. He's just been a bit banged up, so always monitor his game week stats. He's been hurt twice this year alone, I believe, in practices. Here are some wild Bengals stats for you. The Bengals have scored 33 points 6 different times this year. They are 2-4 in those football games. Teams scoring at least 30 are 79-7 this year. 4 of those losses are by the Bengals. It's unbelievable how good this Bengals offense is and how bad this defense is and how killer it has been repeatedly on repeat every year. So with that in mind, who you got? C for the Cowboys, B for the Bengals. It's the pinned comment. Go vote if the ad comes here on YouTube. You probably know where I was going to go with number 2. Well, if the defense is so bad, you need your quarterback to step up. I think a big reason why the Cowboys are 6.5-point dogs is straight up the difference between Joe Burrow and Cooper Rush. Rush they've won back-to-back games. It ain't really been because of the quarterback play. We can acknowledge that. We can acknowledge that Cooper Rush's quarterback play has just not been good enough so far this year. He's lucky to only have 4 turnovers, by the way, because he's also had multiple fumbles that he has recovered. In his handful of starts, Cooper Rush is top 5 in fumbles this year. Not fumbles lost, straight up fumbles. I need more and better play out of Cooper Rush. He beat the Bengals once. That was September Cincinnati. They're a bad team in September. They tend to wake up later on in the season. Bengals defense is terrible. 31st in points per game. They're 27th in yards per game. 23rd in yards per play. 29th in EPA. But they're not making many takeaways either. They get the occasional takeaway that normally leads to big points, but it's not been good. This defense is really, really bad, and you need your quarterback, Cooper Rush this week, to make some plays. Bengals pass defense isn't good. They don't get after the quarterback at all. Quarterback gets all day back there. They miss a ton of tackles. You go back and watch that Bengals again. They had like 6 plays that were checkdowns. Went for 100 yards through the air because they couldn't tackle the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bengals pass defense, their tackling is terrible. It should be a similar quick passing game, aerial attack, because the Bengals can't get pressure. Honestly, Mike's game plan, which I think should be more run-focused, works well against the Bengals. We'll talk about that more in depth in a minute. But today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. There are 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, Texas. That is an injury insurance policy. Player goes down the first half, doesn't return. Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. I always advise the flex play as well. That way, if you get one of these wrong, you still cash out. This is what my boy Jack Lauder Ray cooked up for you guys. It's our one of our key CFB producers here at Chat Sports. Quinn Ewers, more than passing yards. Quintravion Wisner, less than rushing yards. And Carson Beck, Jack was feeling spicy, taking the demon line. 2.5 passing touchdowns, taking the more than for Carson Beck. Download the Prize Picks app over at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Key to victory number 3 does tie into key to victory number 2. We mentioned the Bengals don't get much pass rush. That's true except for one player. Trey Hendrickson has been unbelievable this year. 32 tackles, 12 TFLs, 11.5 sacks, 5 pass breakups, by the way. He has been unbelievable. He is consistently generating pressures. In fact, the problem is he's the only pass rusher on the Bengals worth his weight. Hendrickson is averaging a 16.7% pressure rate. It's 59 pressures this season. This is the rest of the Bengals front 4. B.J. Hill, Sam Hubbard, Joseph Asai, McKinley Jackson, all at 8% or less, half of what Hendrickson's doing, despite the fact that everybody and their brother knows that Trey Hendrickson is going to get the attention. He's going to get chipped and double-teamed. The Steelers' game plan was very simple. It was Hendrickson, we're just going to double-team the crap out of him. He's going to get chipped every play. If somebody else beats us, so be it. Guess what? Nobody else beat him. Miles can't even play. He's got 10.8%. The shelter making side has been a disaster. 4 pressures all season. 4. Trey Hendrickson. It has nearly a third of the entire pressures on the Bengals. Nearly a third of just the D-line pressures. It's over 40%. Just double team him every play. Tight end, running back, shift the protection. Every single play, 2 guys on Hendrickson, whether it's Chuma Adoga or Smith at left tackle or Terrence Steele at right tackle, double team Hendrickson. And if the other players beat you, you weren't going to win the game anyway. So give me your score prediction of Cowboys against the Bengals. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Number 4, I do think you should still let Rico run. I know that the Bengals' passing defense is bad. Don't have a game last week where you let Cooper Rush go 5 of 14 in the second quarter and let the Giants hang around. Just let Rico run. Because Rico Dowdle this year has been wildly effective, in particular, after contact. Rico Dowdle, among qualified runners this season, is putting up, on average here, make sure I got my stats right, 3.4 yards, because that is top 10, or top 15, I should say, among running backs. He does a really good job after contact. He's not ranked that high in yards per carry, but he is pretty higher on the after contact angle. The Bengals can't tackle. They are 9th in yards before contact. They're 27th in yards after contact. Their run defense hasn't allowed a ton of explosive runs. They're 7th in that metric. The stuff rate's not great either. They're kind of in many ways a mere version of you as a football team anyway. You can run the ball. So don't ask Cooper Rush to drop back 45 times. The Bengals defense is bad. It'll probably be a short passing game. It'll work better than some of the other ones, but you should still let Rico Dowdle be involved. We will be live for Cowboys against the Bengals on Monday Night Football. Hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. Number 5, go beat up on a demoralized Bengals team. I don't know if I spelled it right, but we're going to go with it anyway. The Bengals season is cooked. It's over. They're not going to win. They're 4-8. They're out of the playoff picture. They got like a 2% chance of making the postseason. Their vibes trending down because their offense has played out of their minds. Jamar Chase making correct comments about they have to score every possession. Can't do it. Cowboys vibes trending up. Defense is playing some great football. They've rallied. They've gotten healthy. The Bengals, the 4-8 Bengals, folks, are 1-7 in a one-score games here. 8 points or fewer. They're 1-7. How hard that is? That will even out at some point. It's too late for this year. Unfortunately, I think they get one back against you on Monday Night Football. I got the Cowboys covering, but I'll take the better quarterback in this one. Bengals win 27-23 over the Dallas Cowboys. So, pinned comment today. Will Mike McCarthy return as head coach in 2025? Y for yes, N for no. Get those votes in. 70% voting yes. From Mark, $5. A Dak hater. I can hear them as our QB. Until Jerry Jones manages the cap, free agency, and we draft better, we are doomed. Smith, Obershon, and Beebe is the best of 3 years. Well, Tyler Smith counts too, I think. Oh, you did say Smith. I don't know why I thought. For some reason I thought Mozzie. I'm like, that was weird. No. Bland counts there too, though. There have been, but I think in general, like, that 2023 class, you're hoping for like 2 hits at best right now, which is not a great outcome. We'll see about 2024. It's still very early. Ferguson's been fine, but I think in particular, missing on Kelvin Joseph, Deshaun Wright, Jabril Cox, Josh Ball, Simi Fehoko, Quinton Bohanna, and Matt Farniok in 2021. You're kind of feeling that a little bit when your 2023 class also has too many misses in there. Mark, from 2019, we had studs like CD, Diggs, Levin, Overshown. There's Bland, right on cue. Oates is overrated. Joseph is solid. Everyone else drafted as a body at best or gone. Let's see. We'll see about Mozzie and Schoonmaker. They've shown promise, but Schoonmaker's probably going to be a backup. Best case, one of Ferguson and Schoonmaker is a starting caliber player for you. Overshown does look good. Tolbert and Williams, we'll see. Chauncey's, as he mentions here, but those are fine. I do think Mark's on a good point here, though. Never should all pros all over the place, but there's a huge drop off between the great and starters and all the others. Osa and Golston are the best defense. So this is a very valid point, actually. And I think, to an extent, probably ties into Dan Quinn a little bit. Because think about your draft picks on defense since 2020. Neville Gallimore was not great, not bad, but you were hoping for more there. Robinson didn't work out. Bradley and I didn't work out as a 5th-round pick. It's fine. But think about 2021, right? Kelvin Joseph in round 2. Osa in round 3 and Golston in round 3. A little bit slow to develop with Golston. But they've at least become playable guys for you. But then it's Deshaun Wright, bust. Jabril Cox is a 4th-rounder. 6th-rounder Quinton Bohanna. 6th-rounder Israel Mukwamo. Sam Williams has been banged up. Deron Bland, great pick. Damone Clark. John Ridgeway, Devin Harper. The one that hurts you, Junior Fehoko in the 4th round. Oof. Bad pick. There's a Dan Quinn pick. Eric Scott, already out off the team. We'll see about Nealand and Leafau and Carson. The Carson's also a 5th rounder. My other part, and Mark kind of alludes to this too, it's one thing to miss on picks. Because you will miss on draft picks. You can go back and look at, the Eagles' 2020 draft was Jalen Reagor. They got Hurts right. Davion Taylor. Kevon Walsh is off the team. Jack Driscoll's off the team. John Hightower's off the team. Sean Bradley's somewhere. Quez Watkins. Prince Tega. Case Duel. They got one pick right in 2020. 2019 was Andre Dillard, Miles Sanders, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Sharif Miller, Clayton Thorson. Those aren't good picks. The difference is one team is willing to go add some talent. Say, okay, we missed on this pick. Let's go do something. You can't just kind of sit there, and if you only address talent through the draft, those draft misses get amplified. And it feels so much worse than what it really should be because you're not adding talent anywhere else. And those misses kind of get ramped up. Yeah, Eagles probably missed on Bryce Huff, and maybe they missed on Nolan Smith. They've added so many different edge rushers, they've overcome that. So Mark, agreed. Good points. We'll have our live Cowboys report again on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Back again on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Probably do a Tuesday Cowboys report live as well. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV.